Hello. Today's video is about bottle 32. This is royal blue and this is gold. Now this happens to be my favorite equilibrium color combination. Within the world of Aurosoma, that means this is what's called my true aura bottle. This represents my kind of soul resonance, my soul nature, and how I express it in this lifetime. So in a way, when I talk about this bottle today, I'm going to be talking about myself, as you will see. Now, I noticed before, and can you see in that moment, I just kind of look away to think, what am I going to say next? I do that often. And I'd say that's a particularly royal blue thing, because what's happening there is I'm kind of leaving the world in front of me in order to make a space to find what I want to say next. What the thing is to say. So if you look at that in terms of color, you could say royal blue. Now, royal blue is something, there are many words for royal blue, but I suggest to you that certainly one of my main words is mystery. Royal blue is about the unknown. So if you think about it in terms of the blue of the daytime sky, as the blue of the daytime sky goes towards disappearing into the opening to reveal the stars in the universe beyond, royal blue is that doorway between the daytime blue and the revelation of the deeper mystery of life, what's normally hidden behind our everyday world. So we operate in the daytime world. Ordinarily, we fall asleep at night, but while we're sleeping at night, our sky opens to reveal a greater mystery within which we live. So royal blue is kind of the key that opens that door to that deeper mystery, that greater mystery. You can just think about it like that in terms of how royal blue appears in our world, in our lived experience. Now, to go with that idea, I'll show you this as well. This is what's called a color rose. This is Aurosoma's color rose. There are different color roses, always more or less the same pattern. What you can notice here is you've got the primary and secondary colors, which are the colors of the chakras. So if you start at the base chakra, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, this would be violet. Those are 6 of the 7 colors of the chakras. Now the chakras are, have become more popular in recent times, let's say, and they're kind of part of the part of the energetic component of our human living experience. So you got these 6 color chakras. There is a 7th chakra, of course, which fits into that structure, and it's the brow. So when you look at the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, royal blue, or indigo and violet, that indigo or royal blue comes at what's called the third eye, the pineal gland. Now, if you were to look at that here, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, royal blue, and violet, you can see that royal blue is the odd one out. Why? Because it's on the inside. All the other colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, they all face to the outside world, you see. But royal blue is going within. And as you go within, what do you find? Gold. Gold is opposite to royal blue. So when I'm looking about when I'm kind of opening to what will I say next, I'm kind of leaving the contact with this outside material world, because I'm kind of going somewhere else to see what's coming from another place, you see, arising from within me, arising from within. Gold underneath royal blue. So royal blue entering into a royal blue space of not knowing, mystery. Remember that royal blue between daytime sky and the revelation of the stars. So you're going into this place where you are entering a mystery of not knowing, disappearing from the regular material world, going within to discover something. Gold, like the hidden gold at the end of the rainbow, the inner treasure. Gold, in one way, you see, Aurosoma talks about knowledge and wisdom, and gold is associated with wisdom. So you could say, like, going within, going to find wisdom within. Now, that's one way you could express that. And for that, we should also think about something else. In fact, I can see the yellow and the gold, which appear next to each other in the sequence 41, 41, and 42. Between knowledge and wisdom, knowledge is something that you learn because you learned it from outside. You read it in a book, a teacher told you, you witnessed something with your own eyes or heard it with your own ears. You know it from something acquired from the outside world. Now, wisdom, gold, is something that doesn't come from the outside, but comes from the inside. You see, for everything you learn, every piece of knowledge you learn, in a way, you've got to remember it. You've got to carry it. It's like building up a library of things you know. In fact, there is, for people who want to be a taxi driver in London, there are so many streets. The act of remembering all the streets in London for those people who wish to become a taxi driver, that's called the knowledge. And you spend years learning all those streets. And when they do some research on the brains of taxi drivers, they realize that part of the brain has been enlarged through that deep focusing on building up a knowledge or remembering. So knowledge is something you acquire from outside, something that you have to remember. Wisdom is something different. Wisdom is something, it's an understanding that arises from within without having to be learned from without. You can be in a unique situation, and every present moment is unique. You can be in a unique situation, and you can have a knowing understanding that arises from within about that situation, which has not been taught to you from outside. It's not knowledge you've acquired from the past. It's a knowing understanding in the present moment, something that arises from within through making that, turning away from the outside world to make that space of mystery, not knowing, so that understanding can arise from within. So I think that's a very good way to, now, if you wanted to take that further, you could say, well, and I think in the notes that I was looking at yesterday, knowledge for me from a book, but it said something like here, a soul who came to communicate wisdom from within. When this bottle is chosen if this is someone's first position bottle, if someone chooses this in the first position, then it can show a soul who came to communicate wisdom from within. I don't know why I'm telling you. That's just exactly what I've said already, isn't it? I'm just showing you some of the notes kind of fit with what I'm saying. So I don't know what else I want to say about it, really. I think that fits me very well. My interest, so I've worked with Orosoma for many years. I came to Orosoma back in 1985, almost 40 years ago. And when I first met Orosoma, I was just out of university, and I was very drawn to Orosoma, and I wanted to learn as much as I could about it. And it is very fascinating, I think, because I remember I even found it frustrating in those early days, in those courses, let's say with Vicky and Margaret, because not with them particularly, but I was being given words. There were words to learn for each color: blue, green, yellow, different words for different colors. But it was just knowledge. I didn't have any way to explain behind the word that was given. So if we say blue is faith, why is blue faith? I can't tell you. I couldn't tell you why blue is faith. It was just another word I'd learned. Green is space. Why is green space? I couldn't explain that. I was just learning knowledge, trying to remember knowledge. But there wasn't any deeper integration for me of those words with an understanding within myself about those associations of color and theme. And it was over the years, in those early years, after 85, through the 80s, 1992, I came to work at Devora, and I worked at Devora for 9 years. And in those early years, very fortunately for me, I was allowed to be in the teaching room. And so therefore I got to do many courses where what happened was I stopped taking notes. I didn't take notes anymore. I didn't need to, because, it wasn't like the only time I was going to be in that classroom. This is in the days before audio recordings and iPhones and all the rest of it. It was, information was, you were given information. If you didn't write it down, it would be gone. So, but I didn't have to worry about that. So I could just sit there and be present, and in a way take in that information, and it could come like deeper within me. It could begin to nourish something within myself. And I know over a period of several years, that brought me to the point where I began to make the inner connections about this information I was hearing from the outside knowledge, and it began to become like a living understanding within myself. And so I kind of moved from yellow knowledge to gold wisdom. It was like something, it was no longer knowledge, facts I had to remember. It was more like a living understanding within myself, you see. So that was very important. And then when that had been awoken, then once I had that living understanding mechanism, I didn't necessarily need to be listening to words being said about bottles. I could just look at bottles. You can just begin, and not just bottles, you can begin to look at life itself, and you can begin to see kind of color combinations or color themes operating in life situations. Or you can begin to look at the equilibrium sequence as a kind of a teaching just within its own sequence. You don't just need now to be thinking about what does an individual bottle means. It's like understanding its place in the bigger picture as well, or beginning to see that bottle, the energy of that bottle or color operating in a life situation, as I just said. So in a way, that process, that time helped me go from knowledge, outside knowledge, to like a receptive, an openness through the royal blue, which is this doorway to the inner world. It began to, it allowed this gold within me to begin to become more operative, functioning. And so then I was learning from life, let's say. And that really supported me then and then subjects became of interest like the tree of life, or like numerology, or counseling itself, like counseling skills, like the way of working, how, finding the way that worked for me to work with people in color consultations. So that all really arose out of this, a kind of kind of a connection with my own inner understanding. You'll notice this bottle I mentioned the other day in relation to another bottle, 39. This bottle is called trust, and this also is like trusting what you have within yourself to meet life. So this is really pink is in royal blue, gold is gold, of course. So you've got this, you're moving from, what you're moving towards is like a trusting of the spiritual dimension within, the soul world. And gold is the soul self color, different to the yellow of the ego color. The gold is the soul self color, the soul self that exists within the spiritual world, the spiritual inner world, you see. And it's really, and I think in some sense, Aura-Soma itself is about helping to, there are many key sentences about Aura-Soma to do with, the greater guide is within yourself. The idea of the greater guide is within it. Aura-Soma is to help those people who wish to remember themselves, remember what it is that you are within yourself, you see. So that's royal blue gold. It's very interesting that later we have a gold royal blue in Aura-Soma, bottle 97. How do we get there? Through 96. And what's 96? Royal blue, royal blue. So to get from the gold underneath the royal blue, through the royal blue, you get to the gold in the conscious mind, the gold royal blue. It's just interesting that to get from that to that, the step that comes immediately before is royal blue. These are the fascinating things I find within your equilibrium sequence. This, like I say, this kind of greater teaching within the system. Okay, so that's just a little bit about a very kind of personal story, really, about the royal blue gold and what its potential can be. everyone's different, everyone's unique. So someone else who chooses royal blue gold won't necessarily have the same story as me. Everyone's got their own story. Everyone's got their own way of living a color combination. But the broad themes of royal blue, the broad themes of gold, they're kind of the building blocks upon which will help you to weave in everyone's individual story. As Vicky Wall said at the beginning of her book, so at the beginning or the end, tread carefully, because my story is I forget the quote now. You know the thing. Tread carefully on the fabric, on the weaving, the stitches, because you tread on the fabric of my life. That's a very bad quote. Could do better. That's the trouble when you try and do knowledge from outside, you see, rather than say something from within. Okay, that's all for this one. My best wishes to you, and hope to see you on another one.